the idea is that when you're really holding people in health and wellness and they're thriving, is what you're doing is you're creating that support team around them so that they don't feel alone, and so that if they've got questions, which is entirely natural, or they're finding their feet or they're uncertain, they've got that backup.
Yeah.
But the aim is to build up the individual in empowerment and confidence so that they can stand in their own capabilities, knowing that they can do it and go out.
Hello everyone and welcome back to No Place Like Home. I am Jess and I'm here with my co-host Larissa.
Hello.
And we have welcomed back the wonderful Nicole Gale to chat a little bit about all of her amazing things that she does. Thank you. So I guess to begin, in the episode prior to this, we spoke about your epic postpartum journey with your twins and your healing postpartum journey with your third daughter.
Yes.
How did that inform your career?
Oh, huge. It changed the course of what I was doing. So I'm a perinatal GP and a lactation consultant, and I practice now exclusively with mothers and babies, caring for them in the postpartum space. And I practice a little known specialty called breastfeeding medicine. So really it's where breastfeeding and infant feeding issues, complex breast issues, require medical input, really. And so how I got here is it's completely informed by my experience. Where do I begin? I think sometimes when you've had a difficult experience, you want to make a silver lining out of it.
Yeah.
But also it lights something within you, a fire that you think this could be done better. And I just really felt like I'm an educated person who went into the system with so much privilege, with all of the privilege I could possibly have. And then I had this really difficult experience. How on earth, and this was 10 years ago, but how on earth would anyone else navigate that?
Yeah.
And having my twins who I had first and then caring for them, they came premature at 35 weeks and they had some medical problems. They had lots of appointments. We had so many appointments. We had appointments with the paediatrician and then the GP, and then we had the local council nurse, and then we had a weight appointment, and then a breastfeeding appointment. And my calendar was chock-a-block more than at any other time, and we were going all over Melbourne, all over
not
the
in
place.
the same spot, are they? You have to go to a different spot for every single
100%.
appointment. Yeah.
And no one was talking to each other either.
So this is one of the fundamental things why at home this is a big reason why we want to have as many postpartum consultants within that space in the one space, or be able to refer to someone who we know everyone is in that one space.
Because you don't have the resources to be running around.
No.
And once you come to really understand postpartum and what a more biological, normal, inverted commas, postpartum is, it just becomes insanity that would be the experience. So what it really felt like to me was that there were silos of care.
Yes.
So that's my description. It felt like there were these discrete silos that were all over the place and nothing was integrated. And obviously my background being in general practice, so I was working as a GP and I was seeing families and mums and doing general practice, but I had my background and my training was such that for all the bad mouthing that general practice gets, it's very focused on looking at the whole person. So it's not cutting off specialties. It's you have to have an approach to supporting someone with all aspects of their health and be mindful of all of the other aspects that might not be presented at this point in time, but they inform that individual. It is actually a really holistic, it has a very holistic training behind it. And I thought general practitioners were beautifully placed, if appropriately trained and supported, to actually support women, because they could care for the mother postpartum. They could also, you know, they've got gynecology. They could care for the baby. They've got pediatric experience. You know, if there's mental health concerns, then they could care in that space as well. And I felt like, well, maybe I could do more of this and have an interest and see how that goes. And it was incredibly rewarding. I had lots of issues breastfeeding my twins. I had basically every issue under the sun. I had nipple damage and trauma, and I had undersupply, I had oversupply, I did exclusive pumping, I did triple feeding, I relactated, so I stopped breastfeeding and then restarted at one point, which will take up too much time. But what became really apparent to me in that space with my experience was there just weren't the resources to support me in what I wanted to do or where my goals were, except for one lactation consultant I saw. And when I was caring for my twins, it felt very much like a conveyor belt at times. 2 babies needed caring for, and I was very conscious of time. And I said to the lactation consultant that I could not feed my babies any more frequently than 3 to 4 hourly, but I wanted to exclusively breastfeed. Now, if you know anything about breastfeeding, you'll know that that's not physiologically necessarily how it works, and some women can feed that frequently, but often babies will want to feed a lot more frequently than that to get milk. But she met me where I was and supported me rather than had a particular agenda.
Because had you felt breastfeeding stigma prior to that, or were you just trying to do everything that you possibly could with what you were sort of dealing with?
I actually felt like, because I'd had twins, it was almost as if the health system thought, you're not going to be able to, so we're not going to support you to even try to do anything whatsoever.
So it was almost the complete reverse of sort of what the narrative is, you know, breast is best, and that whole sort of, it was almost the complete opposite.
Yeah, and it was around the time where there was that debate around breast is best and fed is best, which has been hijacked by formula companies. Really what I think it is supported and empowered is best.
Yes.
And the agenda needs to be focused on the individual family and their goals and mum feeding or whatever postpartum looks like for her.
Yeah.
So, and everyone had different agendas as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I felt dropped into postpartum, and then one person was saying one thing, another person was saying another. And of course there's no one way to do things, but I think it came also from the system as well, with having strong opinions about how things should be done and how so often the system can be adversarial. So I just wanted things to be team-based. How do we move together rather than move further apart in our respective camps? Because the further that we move apart, it doesn't do the families any justice.
No. Doesn't serve anyone.
It doesn't serve anyone. And I think there can be wisdom to be learned from lots of different people's experiences and opinions. So that's where Juno came from. I remember thinking 10 years ago, wouldn't it be great if I could open a medical clinic that is really an integrated clinic. It's a space where mums and babies can come, and it's going to be women's health as well, but I'll focus on mums and babies here.
Sure. I know, because I was going to ask you, do you do women's health as well?
Yeah, it's women's health.
Nicole.
Yeah, so it's perinatal and women's health. So Juno, maternal, infant and women's specialists. And the idea around it is really reimagining support, medical health support, and really holding women and families in that space. So it's not short appointments. You know, we allow time because there's so much in postpartum and what an individual goes through.
Yeah.
There's so many layers.
Yeah. So many.
There's so much complexity. Probably the single most important thing, I think, in terms of caring for women in the postpartum period is having a safe space where they can feel heard.
Yes.
And you cannot do that without time. So if you want the therapeutic intervention, if you want the care that you're giving to people to be good, better than good, great, then we need to allow time. We cannot rush. And there just wasn't a space within the current medical system of setup that I could find as a GP. So I had my first girls, my babies in 2013, and I've worked in general practice and then done perinatal stuff and lactation consultant within a general practice clinic. And it's very difficult to do.
Where did the name Juno come from?
I sat on it long and hard. I wanted something that felt easy to remember but loving, and I felt like it had to have something behind it. So Juno is actually the goddess of motherhood. It's the goddess of women's transition throughout their lives, and of the home and the hearth.
Yeah.
So that actually applies to you guys.
Can't think of a more perfect name for you.
And I wanted that energy.
Yeah.
And so that's
It's actually
what I went to.
a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
His daughter's name is Juno.
It's a gorgeous name.
It's a beautiful name.
I think it is. Well, I'm biased.
And when I heard it, when Jess told me, I was like, oh, that name. I love it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I think there's power in words and the intention, and it's honouring and having reverence for that space. Yeah. So, with that time, it allows you to set people up for thriving.
Yes.
And provide preventative care and education. So it will be one-to-one appointments with people who have special interest GPs and medical specialists as well, but it will also, it's bigger than that. So we're going to have a day stay that will be a breastfeeding space.
Amazing.
Where for breastfeeding support, essentially, where mums and bubs can come into a little pod or capsule and have peer support and hands-on support and stay for the day.
Amazing.
And so it's also in that space is going to be multi-purpose, and it's going to run additionally as a fluid and support stay for mums with severe nausea and vomiting of pregnancy who need fluids and care.
Amazing.
Oh, I love that.
So we're going to run it that way. So some days will be postpartum breastfeeding support, and others will be during pregnancy fluid support. And it's part of that idea of really allowing time and the collaboration as well. Because with the breastfeeding day stay, for example, we've got a really lovely individual who will be providing support. She's got a doula background, but then I will be coming in as an LC but also as a doctor. And in the fluid and support stay, we're going to do acupuncture at the same time. We're going to have it set up from a sensory perspective and have psychology and mindfulness meditation that mums can just put on and listen to while they're having fluids. So it's really trying to pick what can everyone offer, because there's so many different professionals in the postpartum space. Everyone is here with the best of intentions to support women and support families. I actually don't think any one person can do it. Any one type of practitioner can do it alone.
Yeah, I
Women
agree.
need teams. They need care. So why not harness that and really bring that collaboration together? Because that's, I think, when you're in that space and you're looking for good care, that's what women have to try and create for themselves, really, at this point in time.
Well, thinking about where I was at, I would have thrived in something, if something like home obviously wasn't in existence and there was something like Juno, that would have been the first place that I would have certainly gone to, knowing that there was just one space that had
everything.
Like that,
Everything
multiple different people that I could have seen.
But I also think it's the culture and the values of that space. So what I also think is really important with Juno is creating something where, and I don't think this always happens within the medical system, and I don't think it's the individual practitioner's fault, but the system itself is set up in a very authoritarian way.
Yeah.
And when there are difficulties, the system takes over. It takes that power away and then hands it back to the person when whatever encounter has finished. Yep. And really that's not what anyone in health, but certainly mothers and babies need. So the idea is that when you're really holding people in health and wellness and they're thriving, is what you're doing is you're creating that support team around them so that they don't feel alone, and so that if they've got questions, which is entirely natural, or they're finding their feet or they're uncertain, they've got that backup. But the aim is to build up the individual in empowerment and confidence so that they can stand in their own capabilities, knowing that they can do it and go out.
Yep. Incredible.
And I think that that's the ultimate aim, is that this is a space if you need support, but it's instead of power over, it's power alongside.
Yeah, empowering.
Empowering.
Yeah.
So Amy O'Brien, that's her phrase. So, power alongside as opposed to power over. I think there needs to be that shift, because otherwise culturally it filters down in all the care. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Will there be any kind of education, or obviously it's postpartum support?
100%.
Will there be, so
there are two spaces within the clinic. One will be for smaller community groups and one will be for a bit larger education, and we're going to run a number of programs.
Amazing.
So I think pregnancy, antenatal education, breastfeeding.
Yeah.
But there's so many different groups of women that need support. I'm looking at getting a baby wearing consultant to come in, and second time mums who've moved to the area who need a new mothers group that the council, parents group that the council doesn't do, or if you're an ex-NICU parent and you're looking for people who've had multiple parents, I think having that hub, because that peer support is so potent. And I think it speaks to that meaningful collaboration with community, because there's two parts to Juno really. There's the medical services and the integrative allied health and bringing that all together to really care for people. But what I also want to do, and it's not just me, but what we want to do is really foster that meaningful collaboration within the postpartum community.
Yes.
And so this extends to so many different people.
Yeah.
And so what we've actually got is we have a newsletter that you can sign up as a individual patient potentially, or someone who's looking for care. But if you're a practitioner in the space and you're interested, then you can actually sign up and we'll keep in touch and expand that, because I think bringing together, education sessions, professional development, and really taking everyone's different expertise and melding it and mixing it and working together. And I think that's a really important part, hopefully, of Juno to come as well. I think let's bring together rather than push apart.
Yeah, collaboration.
Yeah, because we need to break down some of the structures.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yes. Well, it's breaking it down, and then,
what do you offer instead?
Yeah, I've had this conversation with quite a few people about, sometimes these systems and structures are too big, right?
Yeah.
And they've been developed over a really long period of time. So,
100%.
They're not
overseen by men.
Yeah, and they're not so easy to collapse or break down, right? So I'm kind of rightly or wrongly, it's like, well, fine, I'll go around, or I'll go alongside and create something else. And I think that's, women, we are, creators, and this is sort of what we do best.
Yep.
And I think that, when we get in that space, it's kind of similar to what you said in the last episode when you were in that room with women, and it's really powerful. That comes in many different forms. And I think when we work in this space together in supporting each other through our health, through our growth, that is just power in itself. So,
It is.
just talking to you, I mean, we haven't talked about collaboration, but I know it will come,
Yes.
just thinking of a woman coming and staying at home for a week or two or however long they want to stay, and then, having that continuity of care, being able to collaborate with Juno then to say, okay, well, there's this that needs to happen after or during or before.
Because it's interesting. I think so often things get segregated into medical or non-medical, right? But actually what is considered, at least sometimes by the medical profession, as non-medical is still potent and absolutely necessary medical care. So we need to stop thinking about holding women in the postpartum space as not that important or the icing on the cake or a meal train.
I agree.
It's actually the basis of providing just the most standard of care. And well-being to that family. And it is medical professionals have a duty of care to be thinking about that and offering that and supporting it. And
but
so
they're just not.
I know.
Right. So I have these conversations, particularly with midwives, right, who talk about the system.
Yes.
And how, all of them adore the work that they do and love the work that they do, but they hate being in the system because a lot of women that I've spoken to feel like it's sort of stripped them of why they initially got into it.
100%.
But then there's also this us and them mentality that seems
Very
to
much
be
so.
really prevalent. And I think, well, hang on, but where the end user in this is the woman or the birthing person.
Yeah.
What impact is that having on them? And then they're just, okay, bye.
It's for the experience for the individual who's needing support, that's profound. But I also, my heart goes out to the healthcare providers who are stuck within systems.
Exactly.
So this is the thing is I've provided this care for 10 years. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I've chosen to create Juno because I haven't been able to find a space within the current system. I think that this is something that is happening. There's a movement within doctors as well, within the medical system, but so often people are beholden to the structures that they're in, and certainly that's something that has been the practitioners, people are looking for alternatives, not just the patients, but the practitioners.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm still looking for people who are interested. So if anyone's interested in growing the team, we've got some lovely medical and integrative people who are interested and who will be coming on board. But the practitioners, people who are providing the care are desperate for a different model as well.
Yeah, I agree.
They're looking
calling for it.
They're desperate for it.
But it's really difficult because they still need to put food on the table. They
100%.
still need to, manage their life.
Yep.
But then there's this wanting within them that is like, I need to do.
Yeah.
Create something.
Yeah. And there are such barriers. There's so much misogyny within the system. Even a position of privilege. I'm a doctor, so you'd think maybe I can go into these spaces and people might be a bit more receptive. I think that's the thing is many people working in the postpartum for decades have been saying this, but the system doesn't listen. So maybe they'll listen to someone who's within the system who's one of their own, still get huge amounts of pushback. It's they don't understand it. Patients understand it. People understand it. They know what good care feels like. But I think there's a movement here. What you're creating, I think, is so needed. We don't always need medical spaces. In many ways, I'm really excited about Juno, but in an ideal world, people might touch in and out of Juno not as often as they would in this current system because they'd already be
of
set
our
up.
system needs to just shift entirely, doesn't it? Like I always say, like my goal is that, or my hope is that by the time our children have children, it's not do you have a meal train, it's who's doing your meal train. Meal trains should be as commonplace as baby showers in my opinion, and
we've
that's
got it
like,
a bit all wrong, haven't
that's
we?
what I mean when I say like shifting the baseline. So then people, obviously it's incredible that Juno exists, but hopefully less people will be so reliant or, come to you in such a crisis.
100%.
And if it can then exist more as a community space that also has the medical care there if you need it.
Yeah.
How incredible.
Yeah, I
but
think
we've got
that's what I
so much
love
work
about
to do
Juno.
before
We're just not
so
there
much
yet.
work, years and years.
But I think it's that hand in hand. That's how I envisage it, and that's what I want for Juno as well. So we've got doulas in the space because I think doulas are just...
Aren't they just the greatest gift to the earth?
Oh my
goodness
you're the
me.
greatest gift to the
Yeah,
earth.
I agree.
I just cannot recommend highly enough that care and the midwives and the nursing, like just that care and how important that is. And I can't be there with that person holding that space all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are complex issues or you need some medical care and you need some support, but it needs to be safe as well. So I see it going hand in hand. But yeah, it's a really exciting. We're really excited about it. So it's going to be in Richmond.
Yeah.
We've tried to choose a semi-central area
Yes.
because the idea is that you're coming for a long appointment, and maybe in many ways it would be great if there were Junos, everywhere. But that way it's not right in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
Parking's easy.
Yeah.
It's got to be logistically easy.
Yeah.
But people can come and travel if that's the care that they need. Yeah.
Yeah.
And packages as well. That's the other thing is I always had that in mind, because when you're in the postpartum, and I do a lot of this with planning with patients, talking about how do we set you up to thrive. It's one of my favourite things to do. And active planning, and I think lots of people in the postpartum space do it. And they have to, we talk about creating a team.
Yeah.
You support your team.
Yeah.
But that takes time and energy too, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
the idea is we're going to have specific packages for different levels of support and perinatal, but also women's health concerns, so that you've got your team and you can opt in and opt out, just to try and simplify things as well.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's in a nutshell.
What a gift you are to the universe, Nicole.
Thank you. Just got to keep going. I think there's just so many people. I'm so heartened that there's such a movement in the postpartum
And
space.
hopefully spaces like this will become the norm.
Yeah.
Hopefully they pop up all over the world, and
I really hope so. I genuinely hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's just no other joy really than seeing a family thrive, is there?
and the families are screaming for it. It's just not as many people. A lot of people have these ideas, but most of them don't have the courage and drive that you two have to be bringing them into fruition.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of work. I mean, so I've been working on Juno actively with this the last 2 years. So, and then been dreaming of it for 10 years.
Yeah. So
Very similar.
Yeah.
Larissa,
Yeah. So construction is happening at the moment, and hopefully opening in February of next year. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
Are we going to have an opening party? Listen to me.
Yes, there will be an opening party. Everyone come along. Yes, most definitely. Yeah, lots of
how
celebration.
Fantastic. Well, we will link everything in
thank
our
you.
show notes. If anyone wants to reach out to Dr.
Yeah.
Nicole Gale, then please do. Is there anything else we haven't touched on, Nicole, that you would like?
Just follow along if you're interested.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
newsletter, we won't bombard you. We've also got an Instagram, so at Juno Specialists. We've got a beautiful website. It's
it's
going to be
gorgeous.
medical but integrated as well. So
beautiful.
hopefully an alternative, because I think a lot of people in the system really want to change the status quo.
Yeah.
But what's the alternative that you go to? So let's come together rather than tear each other down.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Collaboration.
Come along.
Over
Join
competition.
us.
Yes.
Always.
Everyone's welcome. And also, if anyone's interested in terms of being a practitioner but also a patient, there's no pressure from us, because I really think creating those networks and those relationships just benefit everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm so open to those networks. There's really no agenda.
Yeah.
I just think it's wonderful to be in contact with other people who care for women.
Have a
Yeah.
shared
and
vision.
babies and
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm certainly looking forward to collaborating.
We'll make sure we link everything in the show notes and tag you on Insta
Thank
so people
you.
can
Yeah.
find you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Nicole.
having me and letting me talk about. I could.
Oh, it's been a
probably
joy
rant
to have
on
you. Likewise.
about Juno all day. Yep.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guest speakers. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and content here should not be taken as medical or professional advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any personal recommendations and medical care. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate based on the best available information at the time of recording, we welcome any comments, suggestions or feedback via our website contact form, home.com.au/contact. Names and details of personal experiences may have been changed to allow for anonymity and privacy. To join the conversation, join us on social media at Home Postpartum.